So, I'm not going to spoil anything in this review, and I'll be speaking in generalities because, in summary, I did like it, and I think that most people will want to go and see it and they'll like it as well. Right, so now we've got that out of the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Deadpool and Wolverine had a massively successful opening weekend at the box office, and I think for the most part it's deserved. The hype leading up to it, particularly the excitement around Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine, has been pretty intense, and people seem to be pretty excited about the movie. And I'd count myself amongst one of those people. Seeing Hugh Jackman come back, especially him coming back wearing the actual comic book superhero suit, is pretty satisfying. However, the big question that fans that have followed the Marvel films would have is how they're going to deal with the fact that he died in the end of the Logan movie in 2017, coupled with the fact that Hugh Jackman said he was done with the role. This issue is addressed at the very start of the movie in a very overt and Deadpoolish kind of way, and whether or not you're willing to accept that explanation is going to be down to how seriously you want to take the movie, or probably more specifically, how forgiving you're willing to be of some arguably lazy writing decisions. One of the more fun aspects of the movie is definitely the cameos, one in particular that made me audibly WTF in the theater because it comes from a person that everyone pretty much thought was done with acting, let alone superhero shit. Also another very brief cameo from a very popular person in the beginning of the movie that will be a pleasant surprise to everyone, but whether or not that person's going to hang around in the Marvel universe, I would say is unlikely, but it still makes for a cool moment nonetheless. But as I write this part of the review discussing some of the cameos, I realize I'm just essentially describing them as cool moments, and I sort of wonder whether I'm falling victim to very superficial key jangling and member burying, which to be fair, maybe I am. And to be completely honest, the fact that I really enjoyed those moments in the theater doesn't necessarily mean they really add anything significant of substance to the film. And speaking of a lack of substance, a huge negative for this film is definitely the decision to incorporate the TVA. Having them as a central entity to the plot, and especially playing them off as a group to be taken seriously and not just having Deadpool mock them or find a way to dismiss them, is a huge missed opportunity. And the TVA, for anyone that's not aware, is the Time Variance Authority that were originally introduced in the Loki TV show. They deal with interdimensional multiverse type shit in the MCU, which to be fair, Deadpool does directly have a moment in the movie where he says multiverse shit is retarded and needs to go, but nonetheless, it's still what the whole movie revolves around. It's difficult to say just how well Deadpool and Wolverine will age, but my instincts are telling me probably not amazingly, especially with a 2-hour and 7-minute runtime. It definitely has a serious amount of fat that could have been trimmed to make it a much tighter and more enjoyable experience. And on that note, I don't get why they chose to make a movie like this so fucking long, especially when they themselves acknowledge it by having Deadpool reassure the audience in the second, third act of the movie that it's nearly done. It's stuff like the cameos, the humor, the well choreographed action, and the chemistry between the two main characters, as opposed to the bad writing, stupid villains, and infuriating decision to incorporate the fucking TVA into the main storyline, that makes me feel torn about what to think about this movie. I kind of ask myself, if I know and acknowledge that this is just dumb, stupid, surface level fun, am I okay with that? Do I give the movie a pass for that? And in answer to that, I would just have to go with my first instinct walking out of the movie theater, which was simply that I did enjoy myself and had fun watching the movie in spite of its many, many downfalls and weaknesses. I'd probably have to say that this is where people are going to fall into, broadly speaking, one of two camps. I think the viewers are either going to fall into group A, which will be people that are excited to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, will enjoy the banter and chemistry that him and Deadpool have, will love the fight scenes, enjoy some really unexpected cameos, and generally enjoy the film on a very sort of superficial surface level. Or you may fall into group B, where you find the runtime to be way too long, the character assassination of Deadpool in the beginning of the movie painful, some of the long drawn out unfunny sequences throughout the movie to be a chore, the completely nonsensical motivations of the main villains to be straight up bipolar, and the story to hinge around the already beaten to death and incredibly lazy plot device, which is the multiverse, and even a couple of the visual effects sequence to look rough and cheap. And to be honest, I could totally see where both points of view are coming from. I think all of those positive aspects of the movie are valid, and also genuinely think all of those negative ones hold water as well. But just for the sake of not being too much of an annoying fence sitter, I will straight up come out and say that I would categorize myself mostly as someone that falls into the first group of people, and that is to say that I did generally enjoy the movie. If you go into this movie keen to see Deadpool and Wolverine meet, fight, and eventually become allies, and all the funny and cool moments that you get along with that, then you'll probably enjoy the movie. If you want a serious, well thought out storyline with compelling villains, clear motivations, and no plot contrivances that stands up to rigorous and thorough examination, then you'll fucking hate this movie. I honestly can't really give you any more solid direction than that, other than to just say, leave your thinking cap at home and just go and have some good, honest, dumb fun if that's your thing.